Welcome to Gen Z Hoops, the Gen Z basketball, coaching, and sports business show.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Gen Z Hoops podcast, live from the Summer League studio, powered by Sports Business Classroom. Today, I'm joined by the head coach of the Rip City Remix, Coach Jonah Herscu. Coach Jonah, how you doing today, man?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me here.
Yes, sir. Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Long time coming. Yes, sir.
I know. We've been in talks for a little while. Just glad we can sit down and have this chopping up.
Yes, sir.
So let's start off with Summer League this year. This year's roster, it's a mix of young drafted players, some G League talent, some two-way guys. What's your focus going into Summer League?
Yeah, I think it's a developmental tool. Coming right off the heels of the draft, guys like Hanson Yang, just drafted, just seeing what they can do and getting them comfortable with our systems, how we do, player development and our kind of defensive and offensive systems, and then just how they work themselves through our building when they were there before they came out here. And then obviously we want to compete in everything we do, so just competing at a high level and doing it together. Guys like Rayan, Rupert, City Kosoko, they've been in our building for a year or two now, so they're a little more comfortable bringing those guys along. But a little bit of evaluation, I think, for our organization and front office. But from the coaching side, we're just pouring into these guys and really taking it a day at a time and seeing how they grow each and every day.
Yeah, and last night you took home a gritty win last night against the New Orleans Pelicans. We saw Ryan Rupert go for a game-high 24 points. Are there any takeaways from that game?
Yeah, I think with Rupes, it's sometimes just knowing what he can do well. And it's not always about trying to do too much. He shot it well last night, but I was more impressed with the shots he took and the shots he didn't take, if that makes sense. And playing simply off the dribble, defensively, using his length and physicality to really cause disruption.
So earlier this summer, you got promoted to be the head coach of the Rip City Remix. What are you looking forward to most about taking on this position?
Yeah, I think this is going to be my fourth year with the organization and doing it under Chauncey Billups. He's a Hall of Famer, obviously. As a player, I think he'll be a Hall of Fame coach, but really he's a Hall of Fame person and just a high character guy. So learning under him and being with him, I'm really excited to be able to be an extension of him. And we practice in the same building, so it's not like I have to move across the country. So that is probably the first thing I would say. Secondly, just getting a chance to be a head coach and kind of run my own show. The previous two summer leagues, I've gotten to be the head coach, and those are such cool experiences. So, when you're in those other seats as an assistant, it's a lot of suggestions. And what I really realized when I was a head coach here the last couple summers was now the decision making is on you. So just learning through the mistakes I will definitely make, probably more than the things I do well. But that, and then just I've been in the minor leagues a couple different times, and it's a really gritty league, and it's kind of how I came up in this league. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that.
So since we're on the topic of backtracking a little bit, let's take it back to when I first met you. You were actually coaching in Sacramento as an assistant coach during their turnaround years of that franchise. So from that experience, what did you really learn, and how did that help you propel yourself into your career where you are now?
Yeah, first and foremost, I learned those tomatoes in Greece are really delicious with the feta.
The tomatoes.
But the food, obviously, we got a great group with JH and James and the guys that were on the team with you. I really enjoyed it. I kind of took a couple different things away from that. Number one, the FIBA game is a lot different than the NBA game. And even, you guys were in high school and coming to college, that game is a different game than the NBA game. And I think it's easy as an NBA coach to say, oh, I can do this easily. But there was some rule differences that were good for me to open my eyes. Basketball is such a worldwide game that it was a cool experience just to see that. And then I really enjoyed being a head coach. I think getting to kind of organize how you want to organize it and make those decisions that we've talked about is a really cool experience. And at the end of the day, this thing is a relationship business, and I think building those relationships with you guys, they're really formidable years of were you going into your junior year or senior year maybe?
That was my junior year, and I was going to my senior year.
Yeah. So I think most of you guys were in that boat. We maybe had one kid going into 10th grade, one kid just graduated, but those are like fun years, and I just remember my coaches back in those times I really kind of looked up to. So trying to be that person for you guys and building those connections. And sometimes you get to the pro game and the politics takes over a little bit. So it was fun. It was just a very pure experience that I really, really enjoyed.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I remember the playoffs was going on around that time, and I remember just bugging you on the bus about like whether it was the Jimmy Butler performance.
Nah, he's a Miami Heat fan. I know it.
That 45-point game we were watching on Sports Code and all that stuff. I'll never forget that. But since we're on the topic of your coaching style, how would you describe your coaching style more in depth? Are you more of a teacher, a motivator, or a strategist?
Yeah, I think a little bit of everything. I think the best thing is I have to be myself. Like, that's some of the best advice I've ever seen. Like, I'm obviously not Chauncey Billups, right? And I'm not, Bobby Knight. I'm not going to be throwing chairs. I think I'm intense. I love to compete. I take it very seriously, but I'm not going to take myself too seriously. I think of myself as a strategist, just trying to understand the game on both sides of the ball and some situation play. But that being said, like, it's not rocket science, and I think what I've done better as I've gotten older and seen more is like simplified kind of my approach. But really, when I think about my coaching philosophy, I think about mental toughness. I think it's easy to try to get in fights and do the physical stuff, but being mentally tough is really hard, but that's really what wins. Secondly, competing and everything we do is really, really important to me. If I'm playing chess with my brother, I want to beat him. If I'm playing, in Summer League, I want to win. Simplicity is really important to me. I talked about it a little bit, but like keeping it simple. And I think when players are thinking too much, it slows them down. And when they're just doing, it makes it a lot easier. And then lastly, mindfulness. Like, I think players have so much stuff around them going on that it's easy to think of them, as pieces on a whiteboard just moving around. Like, these are people we're working with, so being compassionate towards that and really talking about those different things and pressures that come with being an NBA or G League player is important to me.
So let's look ahead to this season. What are you looking forward to most about this upcoming season with the Rip City remix? What are your goals at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think building it out with our front office and coaching staff, coming down from Joe Cronin to Chauncey Billups, obviously, filtering down to the remix. But developing is obviously important. I think part of developing is playing winning basketball, so we're going to try to win in everything we do. And then even the guys that aren't necessarily like on assignments or on two ways, like trying to help them get to that next level, whether that's an NBA contract or better contract overseas. I always think there's a little bit of like think tank experiments, some research and development we can do in that league, kind of behind closed doors a little bit. Obviously the lights aren't as bright, as the pressures aren't quite as high as they are in the NBA. But we're going to try to compete, and we haven't made the playoffs in the first 2 years of the team's history, so obviously that would be a goal of ours. But really taking it a day at a time and just trying to get better every day in what we do.
Well, Coach Jonah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity today, man, and I wish you the best of luck with the rest of Summer League and this upcoming season.
Wait. Can I ask him a question?
Oh, switch it up.
Okay. So you're a Miami Heat fan, but who's your favorite G League team?
Rip City remix.
Okay.
I gotta
appreciate that. Good deal. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Gen Z Hoops. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe on Instagram, LinkedIn, and all major social media platforms at Gen Z Hoops. You can tune in and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and every other podcast platform on the planet. Get ready for the next episode.